I've always loved hiking, especially in remote places where few people venture. There's something peaceful about being far away from the world with nothing but the wind and mountains around you. So when I got the chance to hike the Alpines, I didn't hesitate. I was up for the challenge, excited to see the untouched beauty and breathe the crisp mountain air. It was the third day of my solo hike when I first saw a 10-old narrow trail that veered off from the main path. It wasn't on my map, and it looked like it hadn't been used in years, overgrown with weeds and half hidden by underbrush. But something about it drew me in. Maybe it was the promise of discovery, of finding something unknown. I hesitated for only a moment before stepping onto the trail. The deeper I went, the quieter everything became. No birds, no wind, just an eerie, oppressive stillness. The trees here were different too, their bark dark and twisted, as if the forest itself had been warped by time. After about an hour of hiking, I stumbled upon a small clearing, and in the center stood a village, or what was left of one. The houses were old, impossibly old. They were made of rough-hewn stone, their roofs sagging and covered in moss. There was no sign of modernity, no power lines, no paved roads, nothing. It was as if this place had been forgotten by time. I felt a chill run down my spine as I walked further into the village. Everything looked abandoned, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. My footsteps seemed unnaturally loud against the dead silence, and every now and then I swore I heard the faint sound of movement just beyond the tree line. Then I saw them. An old man was standing in the doorway of one of the stone houses, watching me. His clothes were strange, out of place, like something from the early 20th century, worn and faded. His skin was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes, something was wrong with his eyes. They were too wide, too bright, gleaming unnaturally in the dim light. "Hello," I called out, my voice cracking slightly. The man just stood there, staring. Then, slowly, others began to emerge from the houses, men, women, even children, all dressed in the same outdated clothing, all pale and silent. They gathered in the clearing, surrounding me with their unnerving stares. I tried to talk to them, to ask where I was, but no one answered. Their eyes never left me, unblinking, cold. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, the sense of wrongness growing with each passing second. Something was terribly off about these people. Their skin seemed to tight, stretch over their bones, their movements slow and deliberate, like they hadn't moved in years. Just as I was about to turn and leave, one of the men spoke. "You shouldn't be here." His voice was low and raspy, as if it hadn't been used in a long time. The others nodded, their heads jerking awkwardly in agreement. The air felt thicker now, like the very atmosphere was suffocating me. "What is this place?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The man didn't answer. Instead, a woman stepped forward, her face gaunt and hollow. "We've been here a long time," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "How long?" I asked, dread curling in my stomach. She smiled, a slow, unnatural stretch of her lips that didn't reach her eyes. 90 years. I blinked, certain I had misheard. 90 years, that was impossible. These people didn't look a day over 50, yet there was something ancient about them, something that made my skin crawl. "They don't let us leave," another voice said. A boy this time, his voice eerily calm. We can't die. A cold wave of fear washed over me. I backed up slowly, my eyes darting between their strange, frozen faces. What do you mean, you can't die? The old man stepped closer, his movements jerky. Like a puppet on strings, this place. It keeps us alive. No one leaves. No one ever leaves. I turned to run, my breath coming in ragged gasps. But something stopped me, something worse than the fear. The ground beneath me seemed to pulse, almost alive, and the trees creaked as if they were moving. I could feel the weight of the village pressing down on me, as though the mountains themselves were trapping me in place. You came here, the man rasped, his breath hot on my neck. Now you belong here. I bolted, ignoring the sounds behind me, the slow, deliberate footsteps, the whispering voices. My legs burned as I ran back toward the main trail, branches whipping at my face, the dense forest closing in around me. I didn't stop until I burst through the trees, panting and gasping for air. When I looked back, the trail was gone, the village was gone, but the feeling the feeling of being watched, of being followed, that hasn't left. It's been days now, and I've made my way back to civilization, but I can't shake the thought, the idea that the village is still there, waiting. The people are still there, trapped, alive for decades, maybe centuries, and I can't escape the feeling that one day the village will call me back, because once you've found it, you're never truly free.